Hello and welcome to the Bigger, Braver Life Show. I'm your host, Angela Marie Williams. As an entrepreneur and success coach, my mission is to empower you to realize your dreams and potential through transformational experiences. The purpose of this show is to inspire your positive change by learning from a community of those paving the way to a bigger, braver life. Hey everyone, welcome to the Bigger, Braver Life Show. I am your coach, Angela Williams. I'm so excited to have you here today. I have with me Kristen Morris. She is an entrepreneur and she's going to share her story. She started Redesignia to empower people through technology. And I'm so excited to have you. Welcome, Kristen.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your journey to your bigger, braver life and what you do in this world?
I started out as a lot of kids do, kind of like how we all do, just love creative expression, doing creative things, drawing, painting, all that good stuff. And then when it came to going to college, getting a career, getting a job, basically everyone told me, like, don't look for anything fun or creative, like just do whatever will pay the bills. So it's kind of like, okay, yeah, like I can't make money being creative, having fun. So with that, I went into college, then graduated into the recession, which wasn't very fun. And then I was searching for a full-time job for what felt like forever. Finally found one at an office, just normal office work type stuff. And I figured out, oh, wow, this is pretty boring.
Absolutely.
So I decided I really wanted to quit, but it had taken me so long to finally find this job. I was like, okay, instead of just outright quitting, let's maybe just go back to basics, find those creative things I really like doing, maybe learn some new skills in the process, just kind of like having fun with it. And that's what led me to graphic design and then web design, because I created my own website, which was a blog, my very first website. And I had so much fun doing it. And I was like, I can help other people do this. So maybe I could just have this be a new career.
I love that. And I want to talk about the why that you can't do something creative and make money and be successful at it. Creativity is one of those really important core parts of ourself, right? And wherever that expression may come, whether it's painting, whether it's coloring, whether it's designing a website, whether it's creating a new idea, that can come in so many different ways. I'm so glad you found yourself embracing the thing that you love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so funny because when you think back on it, you're just kind of like, duh. But at the time, it was such a revelation. I was like, oh my gosh, I can do something that's creative and not creative at the same time, since that's basically what my office job was like, very data oriented, no room for creative expression at all. So I kind of got to marry that with my new career as a web designer. So that was fun.
That's wonderful. And sometimes it takes us a while to unlearn the beliefs, unlearn the naysaying, so to speak, that other people put on us. I was listening to something just before we hopped on here. A successful entrepreneur woman was speaking about how we want to be careful who to share our dreams and desires with, not necessarily that they're going to run with our idea necessarily, but it's more so because, and this is a tendency of people to try to protect us by saying, oh no, because they want this real or imagined sense of security that they've learned, oh, this stable job, this regular job, this familiar job will get you there. But that doesn't have, like you said, the passion, the excitement, the interest, the fulfillment that a career and your passion would. If we know we want to do something, we really have to tune into our own wants and needs and desires and really turn up the confidence and be able to act in the ways that are going to support us that way. What are your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think we all kind of know what we want to do. Maybe sometimes, like you've already said, other people have been like, oh, you can't do that or don't do that. I think a very common thread for any career where you have some creative components is that people will be like, oh, well, there's no money in that. You can't make a career out of that. You're just going to constantly have no money and all this other stuff. And it's kind of not true at all.
Right. And honestly, I talk to a lot of folks, clients, friends, where they have heard that messaging that you're not going to make money. You're not, but it's like, oh, are you in tune with the market? Like, do you have your own business? What is your experience to where you can say that confidently when we can probably look around and find examples of people who are doing just that, making consistent or a lot of money with the thing that they want to do?
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say your process was, and maybe some beliefs that you had to unlearn or overcome, some of those struggles in branching out and doing your own business? I know that's a common piece that will hold a lot of us back, is hearing those things, believing those things what others say, and then not moving forward with what we want. So how did you jump off on your own? How did you create this business? What did you have to overcome to get there?
The first thing I had to overcome, besides just starting from scratch, because I didn't know anything about web design at all, didn't know anything about coding. I'm not a programmer. So was starting from scratch, but that wasn't super intimidating for me because I love learning. So I was like, it's a new, fun, creative project for me. I love it. I didn't realize that at the very beginning, but basically, as I started learning more, that's what I did. And basically, as I started learning more and growing more confident, the thing that stuck out to me was when I was finally getting to a level where I could actually help people and maybe start freelancing or start my own business. What stopped me was basically just fear and imposter syndrome, which I'm sure sounds familiar to a lot of people, because I was just like, oh, yeah, I can totally do this. But the fear in my mind was just like, oh, but who's going to hire you? Like, where are you going to find clients? Like, all those questions that basically everyone gets now and then. And I was just like, oh no, like, what am I going to do? So basically, that caused me at the time to kind of shrink back and be like, oh, maybe I won't do that. So it took me a little bit longer than I would have liked for it to, just because I was basically stopping myself. I could have started a lot sooner, maybe. We'll never know. But at the time, I was just so scared of that and expanding my comfort zone, even just like a little bit. That was super hard for me to do. It's still kind of hard, but I'm working on it.
What did you find that was helpful to overcome these fears, to really push out of your comfort zone? What were the things that helped inspire you or propel you to do that?
Well, one of the things that really helped me was I read a book. Who doesn't love a book recommendation?
Love that. Yes.
So I read Everything is Figure Outable by Marie Forleo. One quote from that really stood out to me, and that was, when people were asked near the end of their life, what's your biggest regret in life? And overwhelmingly, most people said, I wished I had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. And I've heard obviously similar things to that before, but at that moment when I read it, I was just like, oh, wow, okay. For some reason, it just really hit me then. And I was like, yeah, do I want to stay working a job or a career that's like super not fulfilling at all? It just pays the bills, which of course is nice. But do I want to be stuck here? Not really. So basically, the easiest way to do this for me was just making like those tiny little small moves. It doesn't have to be a giant leap, but just making like some progress is definitely better than no progress.
Absolutely. And I love that quote, because what inspired me to move forward more so in the coaching space and talk about expansion and reaching your big vision, dreaming bigger and taking that brave action is really a lot of my own life experiences and seeing people throughout my life have a sad life or live with regret or think small and be run by fear. And so that's something that I constantly look to challenge myself with and others is, what do you want your legacy to be? What's going to push you out of your comfort zone? Are you thinking big enough? Are you just kind of contracting and surviving and existing right now? And a lot of times I'm showing folks the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it's like, okay, when we have provided for our food and water and shelter and all those security things, being able to pay the bills, like you said, then it's kind of, okay, how can we expand beyond that? It's easier to do that now than maybe it was before, especially with the virtual world existing as it does. But so it's like, how can we make sure that we are secure and we're good? And then how do we expand beyond that? How do we really tap into our true potential? That's such an inspiring and motivating quote for me, and how I try to work with clients, because it's easy to get stuck in our patterns and our routines and our comfort zone and our place of security. That's not where we change or grow or do the big things or impact the world in the way that we want.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about your business helping folks, empowering them through technology? Like, what landed you there? How did you decide that that was going to be your particular journey? And how do you bring the empowerment into it?
So basically, I think for a lot of people, tech can be just very intimidating. I can relate to this because I started learning web design from scratch 6+ years ago. So I know it can be overwhelming when you're just staring at a blank page, kind of like you're trying to start an essay and you're just like, I don't know what to do. So I've been there. So that's why I can totally understand why it's important to empower people through technology, because this is basically one of the easiest ways for you to reach your ideal clients or audience, is to just be on the internet, have an online presence. And if that's a website, that's awesome. Also, if you're on TikTok, also awesome. However you can reach people, that's great. So I really wanted to help people do that, because I know it can just be so scary and overwhelming. If they're doing it on their own, they don't have any resources. And if you try to like just Google like web design tips or anything, there's so many results that come up. So I know there's tons of resources out there, but I just wanted to make sure people knew that I've been there. I started from scratch. I don't have a web design degree, so I've done it all myself. So I know where they're coming from.
What I love about that is this goes back to how can we elevate our life? When you invest in somebody else to help you, you are saving yourself time, potentially money, right? So being able to hire someone to help you in an area that might not be your zone of excellence or genius, that might even be your zone of incompetence, having someone to come in and help you is going to save you so much heartache, headache, time, tears, whatever that is. I did both of my business websites. I think I used templates, but essentially still had to, kind of work within that structure. And I had to Google code for some of the things. I had to troubleshoot. I had to, right? And it was hours and hours and hours of my life. And so it's like, yeah, that's definitely a way to go. You can DIY. I used to be a huge DIYer. And now I'm like, okay, where can I elevate my experience by hiring someone else to help?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely intimidating. And I can be wary with perfectionists, recovering perfectionists over here, but you want the thing to look right, perfect. And if it doesn't, that's where the tears come in. Or you just say, okay, well, I'll just take a break and never come back to it again because it's so intimidating, right? Save yourself some time, folks. Price different folks out if you have to, but get some support. Kristen, I think you have a really great way of being able to offer services for folks that isn't intimidating or bank breaking. If you can share, how do you work with folks?
I have a few different ways, different resources for whatever level you're at. If you want to do it yourself, which is totally fine, I get that because that's what I did. I have a free download, Picks for Clicks, which is just a giant resource of over 100+ websites where you can get stock photos, illustrations, graphics, mock-ups, whatever you need for your website or your social media. It's all on there. Most of them are free, which is also always great. So you can get that free download on my website. And I have a few other ways. I have digital downloads for if you want to spend like a little bit more money to get kind of a strategy in place for a landing page. And then, of course, you can work with me one-on-one. If you totally just don't know anything about web design and you want me to do it for you, I can do that too.
Awesome. I love that you have multiple options and levels for folks to work with you. That is wonderful. So tell us, how do you define success?
I define success as basically, this is kind of came from the pandemic, as has been the giant catalyst for change for lots of people. And I was still working my full-time job then. And when we finally had the opportunity to go remote, which a lot of people in my office had been waiting for, they're just like, when's that going to happen? Would love for that to happen. So it finally took a pandemic for that to happen. And I finally realized, I probably already knew this somewhere inside of me, but I was like, oh, wow, having a commute and having to work in an office every day was really stressing me out. And I kind of knew this on some level, but didn't really. So having location freedom and time freedom is basically what success means to me now, because I'm sure a lot of people, if they had the opportunity to go remote, have felt some sense of relief if they had super long commutes or they were just working in areas or buildings that were not like good working environments. So that's success for me.
Yeah, I love that. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs would echo the freedom, the autonomy, the ability to kind of decide where do you want to work, how long, what conditions do you want to work in. So that was also a big aha for me over the pandemic. I was doing, I think, about maybe 20 hours in a therapy office. And then we all kind of packed it up and went home and went virtual during the pandemic. And I caught myself rearranging how I would put the furniture from my office into this office at home. And I was like, oh, I think I want to work from home now for an extended period of time, and was able to work through that and make that action happen after. So you're right. There's a lot of stressors. I think some folks that I've talked to who really enjoy being able to separate work from home. I think, it really just depends on everybody's situation. Being able to separate that work from home sometimes is nice to have the option, but I'm totally with you on being able to decide. Having the choice, I think, is more important than where you end up. It's being able to choose. So a really interesting point that's come out of the pandemic for sure. What advice would you give others who are looking to live their bigger, braver life?
Definitely check out Everything is Figure Outable by Marie Forleo if you're stuck or anything like that. Would definitely do that.
Oh, let me ask you really quick. Where did you find that book? Was it online? Did you find it in a bookstore? Or were you following her?
Just the library, which was good.
Awesome.
So I didn't have to
Okay.
buy it just in case anyone's like, oh, I don't want to buy that. But yeah, you can definitely just like pick it up at the library, audiobook, however you listen to books. Yeah.
Cool.
Since I will read like anything and everything, I was like, I'll check it out, whatever. It's at the library.
Right. Folks are looking to up-level their mindset, really help themselves in self-development, but maybe don't have a budget to directly hire somebody one-on-one. Definitely check out the library. You can download, there's a few different apps like Libby and Overdrive where you can download audiobooks, Kindle books, or you can go to your local library. It's such a great resource. I've listened to tons of books on Audible, but also I've got a ton on the free library app as well, and love that. So thanks for sharing that book. Yeah. So you recommend that book. What else?
I would say if you ever have like your intuition or whatever you call like the little voice like whispering in your head, like, hey, go do this or try this project or wherever it's saying to you, I would just try to do probably not big leaps if that's too much for you, but just like take small steps in that direction and see if it works for you, see if it's something you actually enjoy doing, because that's what led me to becoming a web designer, just taking those small little steps and figuring out what you want to do.
That's one of the pieces I teach in my coaching programs is I call it intuitive leadership. And that is where you get to listen into your needs and wants and really take action. I don't know how many times I've heard, and I've done this too, having this little voice that says, oh, maybe do this or don't do this. And then you ignore it and just kind of brush it off. And then it ends up being a place of regret later on of, oh, I wish I would have. It's about strengthening that muscle. It's a muscle that we can definitely strengthen. That is a really big piece of what I teach, because I want folks to be able to go out in the world and be able to rely on themselves and have that confidence that they can guide themselves to their desires and their bigger, braver life. So thank you so much for sharing that. And you're right. We don't have to take these huge leaps. That's what stops us in our tracks. We just get overwhelmed. We think we have to climb Mount Everest at the first go round, but that's not true, right? We practice to be able to survive Mount Everest, right? We have to put all these little steps in place to get up there. Same with business, same with anything. How do we make that so small and just take that step and just show up, right? Showing up is such a big deal. So thank you so much, Kristen. You shared with us how folks can work with you. We're going to put all of the contact information for Kristen in the show notes, including her freebie that you can check out to support you as you're building a website. and other ways that you can work and connect with Kristen. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll catch you all in the next episode.